Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It's myself, George, and today I'm bringing you a review on the new Marvel release. This is, of course, Black Widow. It's been delayed many times since last year, but the first Marvel film we're going to get the cinemas of Phase 4, which is still very exciting to be able to talk about. So this is going to be completely spoiler-free. I'm not going to drop any revelations in there. I don't want anyone to comment as well any spoilers. Obviously, we'll keep an eye. We'll delete any if they do pop up. But obviously, this is a film that a lot of us are looking forward to. I'm happy to say we're also going to have a spoiler discussion. That's going to go up on the channel this Thursday, the 8th of July. That'll be me, Tate, and Chris doing that one. So do keep an eye out for that. We'll be able to go into it in a little bit more detail, but this is, of course, that shorter review. And if you are new to the channel, if you're just trying to find out more about Black Widow, then, of course, I want to know your thoughts on the character, on what happened in Endgame, and your sort of thoughts leading into this, because I'm going to speak about that very shortly. As I said, if you're new, hit the subscribe button. We've got a lot of Marvel stuff coming up on the way, as well as many more new releases, which I'm very excited to talk about. There's a couple more that we'll be bringing you across July, let alone the films, a few TV shows, which I can leave at that. But if you're new, hit us up on our social medias, which is Facebook at Cinema Savvy, Twitter at Cinema_Savvy, letterboxd.com/Cinema Savvy, and of course we have a link to our TeePublic store in the description below. We'll go over some more of that stuff at the end of the other shows coming up. Of course, we've got Loki stuff as well. However, I'm going to go into this straight away, as we always do with these. So my thoughts heading into this, and this is a very weird one that, because we're now so deep into the Marvel shows, we're halfway through Loki, and it's been one of those shows which has been incredible, and we've had so much Phase 4. It's quite surreal to be able to, I say get a cinema experience. This screener was online that I was obviously Disney sent over, so very gracious for that. But of course, I didn't get to see this in cinema, which I need to get clear because I will be seeing this again, and it's very hard to judge it off seeing it, at home, in your own environment, compared to sort of being an IMAX the way I always say it's intended for this Marvel film. So that's a really big thing for me, because there's a couple of things I'm not sure about, and I don't know if that is more watching it at home versus being in the cinema for it. So I'll get to them. That's mainly the CGI and stuff. But right off, of course, you can say it's a prequel. Of course, she gets killed in Endgame. That's not a spoiler to anybody. So the announcement of this film was really interesting, because Black Widow is a character who should have had a film in certainly in Phase 2 minimum. Phase 3 was shocking she didn't get one, and Phase 1, maybe could have, should have, if Marvel wanted to take a risk with it. And it's led to a point where when I sat at the cinema watching Endgame, when you've got her and Hawkeye on the cliff, it's like, oh, okay, well, there's a Black Widow film coming out, obviously next year, we thought at the time, and it was one of them where obviously that didn't happen, and she died, and I was like, oh, right, so, okay, the Black Widow film, okay, interesting. So obviously there's a lot of stuff for the production as well, which I can't go into because of NDAs and whatnot, but it's one of those where going into it was really hard, because it's a prequel. They're going to come out fine, which is absolutely fine, but because we know the end game of the character, obviously this film is very much a prequel in essence, that we're learning about her earlier life, which is that angle I love, which is the best thing this film does. So while I get into that, I'm going to quickly bring up the actual plot, as we always do. Descriptions: a film about Natasha Romanoff in her quest between Civil War and Infinity War. Obviously, we get a couple of flashbacks and things like that, but this is primarily set between, Civil War and Endgame. And I will say it delivers on that. If there are audience at home who aren't sure what happened, I will say this film drills home how crystal clear it is, the time point, so that it isn't there for people to be confused about. Obviously, some maybe, but personally, if you're even like half aware, you'll be able to clock that this isn't obviously set after recent events. So that's something I needed to bring up straight. But I'm going to talk about Scarlett Johansson, because I mentioned earlier she should have had a film many years ago. This feels like it's come 5 years too late. And I'm not even talking about the character or the actress. Obviously, we know Scarlett Johansson is a superb actress, so many Oscar nominations over the last few years as well. And she's also been incredible in action roles. And it's really hard that this film came so late. You kind of, not that you don't care, but versus, oh my God, Shang-Chi, completely new character, we don't know much about him. Eternals, we've got no idea what this is about. And obviously you've got Spider-Man, the return of hopefully Toby, and many other things happening in that film. So of the 4 Marvel films this year, this is the one where I think a lot of people will look at and be, it's the kind of pointless one. And it's fair to have that opinion heading into it, but I was mainly in for this, obviously, to know more about the journey of history. We got teasers in Age of Ultron, and it's a film that delivers on that sense. I just think performance-wise, Scarlett Johansson's absolutely fine. We know she's good in this role. We know she can do this role, and we also know this is her farewell. Obviously, we've had the canon farewell in Endgame, but there's some moments in this where, not to bring up another franchise that speaks a lot about family recently, Fast 9, you certainly get moments like that where it's all family driven, and they're building this character development. And obviously I'm not going to do another MCU rewatch because we did that on the channel in the Infinity Saga retrospective. But this would be weird watching it in release date order. I think a lot of people would struggle with that. I think obviously if you're going to rewatch, I'd actually probably do this after Black Panther maybe, because it stands out in that sense that if you can just get out of your head that this film is obviously Phase 4, it should have been released 5 years ago, and obviously we've had delays, there have been other issues, but personally I think Marvel's just not had it in them. They've not had not the awareness, but they waited until Wonder Woman was this big hit. Okay, Wonder Woman was a hit. Now we'll get the Black Widow film. When really this could have been done so many years before. And I know that there was talk of a Black Widow film, I think in the mid-noughties, way before the MCU was even a thing. But this just strikes me as one where I felt it's come too late, which is a shame because there's a lot of good stuff in this. And I'm going to talk about the best of which is the family members as such. Everyone obviously is on the Florence Pugh hype. I've not seen Fight My Family yet. I know that's one that everyone loves, and Midsummer. So I've only seen her in a couple of things. However, seeing her in this, she is by a country mile the standout. She is the breakaway star from this. Obviously, there are rumours that she's going to have a bigger role in the MCU as years go by. I can absolutely see it. She commands the screen. She's got a fantastic performance. She's great at the action scenes, and her chemistry with everyone is by far the best. Emotionally wise, story wise, she's got the most going on. And I think this film, I know it's a prequel, it feels like a passing of the torch where, I don't know if you're going to, get a new Black Widow or something, but Florence Pugh to me by a country mile is the best thing in this film. And I was really excited to see her in this because obviously so many people obviously followed her career up to now. And I've kind of watched this and I thought last night, I was like, okay, I need to see Midsummer pretty soon. And I should see Fight My Family, obviously, because I was a wrestling fan as well. So that's obviously a big thing for me. But I want to say Florence Pugh is superb. But the best thing is the family members together. We've got David Harbour playing Red Guardian and Rachel Weisz as, I think, Melina. She's one of the older Black Widows. And we sort of had this vibe off the trailers that they were a family that were disconnected for whatever reason. This film was going to unite them. And that was quite exciting. And I will say this is why it goes down as some of the best things in this film for me is that Marvel often has a problem when they write for these supporting characters where they're so good with the lead actor. You look at Iron Man, you can look at Thor. Actually, no, Thor's a bad example because Loki's written superb, but Captain America, so many of these lead films, the supporting cast just don't get as much to work with. And it takes them a couple of films to bring them in and to get to their own level. But this is one where the four of them together was superb. Like I could have honestly had a film where they're sat down for 2 hours talking at a table, because just the group of them, there is so much going on in each character. They are so well written in this film. And I know Kate Shortland directed this as well. I don't think she wrote it, but how she's able to direct them, how she got the performance out of them, I thought was superb. And as well as this, when they do have their action moments, it's great. Obviously, I'll talk about David Harbour as Red Guardian. He was obviously the comedy role from it. If you've seen Stranger Things, you'll be very familiar with him, but playing that dad role, he was great. He worked for comedy relief, but he's got personally, he's got quite a tragic character. You're not meant to sort of like him too much, I think, but as the film sort of gets into it more, you kind of realize that he's very tragic in this sense of things, that what he could have been. And if you're not familiar with Red Guardian, he's basically the Russian Captain America. So you can imagine that in the 80s at the height of the Cold War and things like that. It's really not a shame that he's not in it more, but I think they get the best out of him. He doesn't have too much screen time. He doesn't have too little screen time. He works exactly where they need him. And Rachel Weisz is superb. I mean, she's always great in everything she's in. They do the de-aging stuff at the start, which I'm fine with because they look like her from The Mummy. And David Harbour looking young as well was really cool to see them together. But she didn't get as much to do. But I feel like the scene she was in, she delivered with it. And again, she's playing the mum role of the family. You see it in the trailers. A lot of comedy moments here and there. But the family angle, I think, works the best for this film. And this is where I'm torn because I didn't like the action in this film. I think when it's sort of the one-on-one fighting stuff, it looks absolutely superb. All that kind of stuff you'd expect. But when there's the big moments, in the trailer when she's basically flying through the sky and all these moments, I don't know if this is the screener. So this is where I mentioned earlier I struggle with the IMAX stuff. If this looks fine on Wednesday, I'm going to look like an idiot right now, but I thought the CGI was terrible. But is the CGI terrible because I was watching it at home on a screener? I honestly don't know, but the over-reliance on the CGI on the big action scenes, I think, really hurt this film more than other Marvel films because it's so, I don't want to say grounded because obviously it's a superhero film, but the family dynamic, those characters having actual character development, having dialogue with one another, having issues is something Marvel doesn't do. And then you get these big bombastic things. I know you need it from a superhero film, but I think on this one, it really stood out for the wrong reasons. And it's such a shame because I don't think it needed something like that. And also going into the sort of the traditional Marvel trope is that the villains just aren't there, that you're so focused on the writing of the heroes again, where we just don't have interesting villains. We've got obviously Taskmaster, who I will obviously not say who the identity of that person is. And we know in the trailers, if you don't know the comics, they can copy everyone's move. And yeah, it's a generic Marvel villain. I'm not going to talk anything else about that. We'll say that for the spoiler discussion, but I didn't care towards the character because you knew all you needed to know about it wasn't. I would say a lot of it comes down to the performance of Dreykov. The character Dreykov, obviously played by, Christ Almighty, how have I forgotten Ray Winston's name? It's one of those where, it's Ray Winston. You know what you're going to get. He's got a Russian twang. He's a tough guy. He's a dodgy guy. Obviously, in a big blockbuster film, they're not going to have him around to play this really good guy, are they? So, Ray Winston does what he does best, and there's nothing wrong with that. And we get a lot more scenes with him than I actually thought. So, Ray Winston coming on screen, it was okay, but I just don't think this film worked in that sense. I think this was very much a character piece that was let down by anything that wasn't about the four main family members. So, that's kind of my biggest criticism of it. I mentioned the action. Again, the CGI, it stands out for the wrong reasons. I wasn't a fan of it. And again, is that the screener? I don't know. But when I get to see this at the IMAX on Wednesday, obviously there will be a more definitive answer on that one. But certainly looking at this film overall, the writing was a lot better. Lauren Balfe did the score as well, which I want to mention. I've not seen the Tomorrow War yet. I've heard good things about the soundtrack, but of course did Mission Impossible, which I absolutely love. So I'm very interested to listen to that on a rewatch. There's a lot of really good Russian type stuff for the Black Widow type things. And I enjoyed the score. It's not up there, but it's better than the average Marvel thing. There's one or two sort of memorable themes and moments. So I will say that. But overall, the film, I think, quite sad. It's just average. That I don't think it wasn't bad by any stretch of the means, but it also wasn't like great. It wasn't a standout. And I think, and this is my problem, that this is a film where, we've had WandaVision, we're in Loki now, and we're getting, Captain America 4 / Falcon the Winter Soldier, where Marvel are sort of being edgier. And, maybe because this was in development so many years ago, but this feels like it's off current Marvel standard, but it's the kind of film that could have been released in 2014, 15. And it honestly feels like it's run there. You could merge it with all the films together and people would be shocked if they told you this was 2021, because there's nothing stand out about it. And it doesn't feel like it's Marvel pushing it to the limit or trying to do new things. I know that, they've not had female directors working on the films, but I think Captain Marvel at this point, we've not had a female lead action film in Marvel again, up to Captain Marvel. And this is that stuff that came too late. You're going to look in a while, because I really enjoy Captain Marvel, but how did Black Widow, who was first in Iron Man 2, who's popped up in so many films since probably 6 or 7 off the top of my hand I'm thinking of, how has it took her this long to get a film until after she started? I don't know. That's my biggest problem. So this film has just unfortunately come too late, and it just ends up being just bog standard average. That, if I was ranking them all and putting them in stuff like that, this is probably going to be like 14, 15 out of 25 now. It's just one of them where I can't fault it too much, but at the same time, there's nothing stand out. So that's my spoiler-free review. I'm going to leave it as blunt as that, because I can't get into the more intriguing stuff. We'll do that on Thursday. That's going to be a very big video. So I hope you will like this review. There's a couple of other things coming from the channel, as we mentioned. Our James Bond retrospectives are continuing every Tuesday. We've got For Your Eyes Only, which is going to come up this Tuesday, the 6th of July. That's going to be me and Chris on that one. And of course, for you Marvel fans, we've got the Loki spoiler discussions coming every Wednesday at 8 p.m. This one maybe a little bit earlier. We haven't figured out a time yet, but obviously football's coming home, isn't it? So we're not going to be getting live at 8. We'll be watching the football instead on that one. So I want to thank you all for watching today. And as I said, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe. And if you do like Marvel, there's plenty of other Marvel discussions on the channel. The Infinity Saga retrospective was a massive series we did at the start of the year. We went through all 23 films in the space of 2 months. There were so many people joining in and out. It was absolute chaos. It was really worth watching. So if you do like this video, if you like how I speak about Marvel, have a check out of them roundtable discussions. They were really fun to do. And of course, we've got the Marvel shows, which are also on the channel. So do comment, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts on Black Widow when you've got a chance to see it. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.